I am pleased to welcome Mr. Eric Wyatt today for a conversation. We've been trying to set this up for a second, and I'm glad that we finally got it happening. How you doing, my man?
Man, I'm fine. It's great to finally do this with you. I've been seeing you online with your beautiful, talented wife singing and performing and doing this. You're really hustling out here, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
and kudos to you as well. Before I even came to the area, I knew who Eric Wyatt was, man. Listening to the
Okay.
beautiful music and
Oh, thank you,
watching
man.
you move online.
Okay.
You are, in my opinion, a taste maker and a gate opener, if I can invent a
Okay.
term, for
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
talent. And as well, it has helped to distinguish you as your own firebrand saxophonist. For folks, Eric, that may not know you as well, you've got a lineage in this music with your family, with your dad, with Sonny Rollins. And I know it's hard to summarize, but if you can, tell me, when did the spark of improvisational music take you over? Was it all at once, or was there an aha moment? Tell me about that.
Oh, brother, you hit me with a real heavy one. When you even say you heard about me, that's beautiful. It amazes me because I'm kind of like I ain't gonna say a late bloomer,
Okay.
but I could segue. There's a lot of ways I could answer your question. I'll just try to say this. I grew up in a really very, very bad neighborhood, Brownsville. Um, the music thing was my dad's life. When I finally, you know, when we were kids, I remember my dad playing his records and saxophone. And when I was maybe in the fifth grade, we were bussed out of the community to go to a school in a white neighborhood called Bensonhurst. I was in Brownsville, if you know New York. Okay. So the thing I want to say is the music was in the house. I mean, we literally got up in the morning, 6 o'clock to get ready for prayer to leave for 7. And all my dad did was turn on Bird Flight with Phil Schaap. We knew it was 6 o'clock and we had to get up. So first one, let me just say to you, the music was like seeping in. Even my sister, man, she doesn't play music. She laughs about salt peanuts, ba-da-ba-da. We heard this stuff as children. Now think about this. A kid hears this. Sure enough, all these tunes. Dip, dip. But I'm hearing this stuff when I'm 9, 10. We're like, damn, But my father did it so insidious. He didn't force us to play music. But when a guy like Sonny Rollins would come to the house, you could see this change. You have a father. When your parents change around adults, they're one way with you. And then when you see, who your dad and your mother like, you know who they don't like. That energy. The times we were almost getting ready to get a spanking for something that we shouldn't have done. I literally remember my mother saying, Charles, Jackie McLean is on the phone. And as the belt would be in midair, it would never hit you. And then he'd have that conversation and we'd be like, damn, Jackie McLean, that guy say, that happened with Sonny Rollins. These are true stories. So I'm trying to
Sure.
give you what I've learned and what I do has nothing to do. It has a lot. I see a lot of kids going to school and I know they got these dreams of becoming these great musicians. I have nothing wrong with that, but there's so many other aspects that I know I acquired that had nothing to do with that environment. So I'll just say the spark was when my dad used to drive his Sonny Rollins musician friends, Albert Daly. This was found in his archive and it's been written about in a book. I used to like to hang out with my dad and try to get to know him a little more than the family. I was like the one that kind of stuck to him. My brother did. But when he would go on these drives and stuff, I would like to go. I'd like to get out of the projects. It just was not where I want to be. But he drove Albert Daly, Larry Ridley, to play with Sonny Rollins at and Jim Hall. I could send you the program. I remember it like it was yesterday, April 6, 1972.
Wow.
Because somebody found the program. I told somebody about this. They found it in Sonny's archive and sent it to me. When I finished, I will send it to you. When the guy found it, he sent it. I was like, wow, that's the concert that I went to that I learned to pat my foot to jazz.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now understand, I'm hearing, sure enough, Salt Peanuts. I can still recall those solos.
Mm-hmm.
Then I learned to pat my foot. So, and then I had the nerve, man, to go on the stage as my dad went to talk to Sonny because he drove the guys. I go start playing the drums. I'm just a kid. I'm 12, 11. I like the drums. So Sonny Rollins, see, there's no YouTube and cats didn't have their phones, but this happened. He opened the door and said, "Who's on the damn drums?" And it was me. So he told my dad that I was a drummer. So I actually played drums first, man.
Okay.
Played drums,
Okay.
and my dad gave me this miniature set of drums. But then there's a story of him taking me to see Miles Davis because I switched to trumpet. And meeting Miles Davis was another. These are major events for a 10, 11-year-old kid because I'm around all these adults. It's like take a kid to Disney's today, or go to Smalls or the Blue Note. You're around all these adults, and these are black men that are getting the ultimate respect. I'm talking about the ultimate respect. And I'm a kid. I'm like, this is in the 70s. So I'm like, wow, these guys. And I'm not even trying to insinuate a racial aspect, but it's just the way they were treated, the sound guys, the door guy. My dad said to the guy, yeah, I want to go in here and see Miles. And my name is Charlie Wyatt. The guy said, you got to get in line, sir. There was a line of people with album covers, pens, photographs. They wanted Miles' autograph. Well, when we started walking to the back of that line, before we got to the back, the guy said, Charlie Wyatt, come on. So now I'm looking at my dad, take me in, like, why? He really must know this guy, you know. And then I'm in the dressing room, and Miles Davis talked to me, and I never forgot hearing him talk. When that guy opened his mouth and I heard him talk, I was like, so I'm trying to say all these things were the light bulbs that let me realize.
Gotcha.
If you play this instrument and you really learn to be, you know, a participant, but understand all these little things I learned, that helped me more to be who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you notice, as you interview people, I've talked to Sonny Rollins so many times. I've talked to Gary Bartz, James Spaulding. These guys say stuff to you, and you say, yeah. You know, they might say, you understand, and you don't understand. Some of the stuff that I've learned from these gentlemen are coming to me now. And this might have been 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So that's, you know, kind of where I come from with my level of improvisation. The thing about helping younger people is something that, see, as I tell you these stories, when I met Robert Glasper, which is a funny video that I put online, I don't know if you saw it on YouTube.
Did.
It was so funny because the story is so connected in a jazz way. I'll just try to make it as brief. Carlos McKinney was supposed to play with me in Athens, Greece. Betty Carter dies.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos was playing with the Elvin Jones Jazz Machine. They gave Elvin Jones her week at the Blue Note. So Carlos said, I can't make your gig. So I said, I need a piano player. So I'm calling up Anthony Wanzi. He can't go. He's going out with Kenny Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
All these guys that I'm naming that called, that nobody could make it. I think maybe I called Mark Carey. I called a bunch of guys, George Caldwell. Yeah. Finally, somebody says, man, call this guy Robert Glasper. I said, who's that? I never heard of him. Mm-hmm. So he plays the tape on the phone. I was in shock. I'm not going to lie to you. Mm-hmm. So I called him up and I offered him the gig, and he acts like I'm calling to play in New York. He says, I said, we're going to Greece. He says, oh, how do you get there? What train?
Sure.
Brother. Right. It's like, you know, but he was such a brilliant guy. And what happened at the new school, he was kind of like the guy everybody looked up to. Mm-hmm. So I started hiring guys from his circle. But it also showed me, I learned just as much from hiring E.J. Strickland, Keon Harrell, Robert Glasper, Damian Reed, Jemiah Williams, then it was give and take. I was learning from them. So I feel like now today, Makai Boone, Samara Joy, Gifton Jellin, Kyle Poole. When I hear something in a young guy or woman that, you know, that bell rings, I said, man, you know, I just feel it's my responsibility to try to show them some of the knowledge that I learned from the people that I learned it from. And hopefully they'll learn something and continue on. That's
That's
where I'm at.
beautiful, Eric. No, I think that's beautiful. And so many things you said in that response. I just I'm taking mental notes here because I want to touch on a couple of things that you brought up.
Okay.
Number one, I think it's really interesting when you encountered Mr. Rollins and Mr. Davis live in the 70s.
Oh,
You know,
man.
Sonny was coming out of that playing in the yard period, the early 70s, and mixing just a touch of what he was doing with groove and electric. He also, or rather, Miles was in the same mist. You know, when you saw Miles in the 70s, he would have probably been with, you know, Pete Cosey and Al Foster, you know, doing the full on funk rock thing, which
definitely was.
I
Definitely
love.
was that. Right.
And then another thing you said, of course, many people within New York's music community call you the mayor of Brooklyn, you know? But in
Right.
that you were a young person and, you know, were exposed to this music and were welcomed by these giants. I understand better now how you have been as welcoming with talented young people. And one of the things I want to ask you about that, Brooklyn seems to be an incubator of young musical talent. Is there a difference in the Brooklyn scene versus the Manhattan scene? Could you talk about that? Yes or no, or what's your take on
Absolutely.
that? Okay.
See, this is the big discrepancy with my career. I played in Manhattan. In 1995, I recorded on an album with Rodney Kendrick. On that album is Dewey Redman, Graham Haynes, Justin Robinson, Teru Alexander on drums, Badal Roy, who used to play toppers with Miles Davis.
Yes, sir.
I did the Manhattan thing. I was doing it. But the problem was this. See, Brooklyn was transitioning from the elders to my generation now. Now, because I knew so much about jazz, and I owe so much to Arthur Raines, a Brooklyn legend that was the cat who scared the, shit out of every player he met. I don't care if they came from Kansas City. Arthur Raines was a freak of nature. He played with Rashid Ali. You can look him up. I met Arthur through my man Chango. I met Arthur I met him through one of the greatest drummers, may he rest in peace, my brother Glenn Chango Everett, who turned me on to Arthur Rams after I had left New York. My music career transitioned from when I was a smart kid, man. I got skipped. I was bused in the white neighborhood, but yet I got skipped from 7th to 9th grade. Then I finished my music study by my 11th year. But my thing was I want to get out of the projects. So the other skill that I had, which is not impeccably as well as saxophone, I played basketball. So I got a scholarship to play in Waco, Texas, which is another freak story because that's where Roy Hargrove was born. Now, this is way before. So all these things came together. I spent time in Waco, but I hurt my knee, and it was the godsend that I hurt my knee because I was going to try to go all out on the basketball athletic thing, but I hurt my knee. I couldn't play. I knew any kind of professional or even an aspiration of being a coach. All that was over. I come back to New York. I run into my friend Chango, who was the committed guy. He was our Jeff Tain Watts. Chango in Brooklyn was Jeff Tain Watts at that time. He was the top cat, man. So he let me hear this tape of Arthur Raines. When I heard it, I said, the guy who's playing on that tape is dead. That guy, he says, man, that guy plays at the Muse I said, what? This guy's alive? I went and met him, and I said in his ear, I'm a friend of Glenn Chango Everett. I want to study with you. It changed my life.
Wow.
So my thing is, Well, now your question, I'm sorry, I got a little,
It's
you asked,
okay. It's okay. The
yeah, but I
difference
want to answer you.
between
Yeah, yeah,
Brooklyn
yeah,
and
right. Arthur's right. I brought up Arthur because this guy was a phenomenal cat, man. Arthur was so humble, so humble. He helped me, man. He was very stern. When I studied with him, you couldn't answer your phone, no talking. He had his discipline stuff, and everybody was scared of him. I remember being with him in clubs, a club called Pumpkins. Um, the Brooklyn clubs were a lot different, man. They embraced you. See, when Robert Glasper and I met these young guys, I told the club owner I want to play here, and here's my new CD. I had my first record was out. It's called Godson. It had Al Foster, Rufus Reed, and Mark Soskin, and Dan Kostelnik, and the cat Shinobu Ito. It was an organ, half organ. This Japanese label got in touch with this cat and said, "We want to do something. If you could get Sonny involved." And Sonny, as he's always is, they wanted to call the record Eric Theodore Wyatt or Eric Walter Wyatt, because his name is Theodore Walter Rollins.
right.
Sonny said, he's not my son, or he's more like my godson. His father and I were best friends. So that got me a little play in the 1997 time, right around Glasper, the years I met Glasper. So the club owner, I said, look, man, let me play here, but I need you to do something. I need you to have some food because I want to run a jam session. This guy's a West Indian cat. He don't even know what I'm really. I said, if you let me have some free food for the guys that you're not going to pay, just let them come in here and play and eat. They're going to buy drinks because you got jerk chicken and all this spicy stuff. I promise you. Man, in about a month, I had the hottest scene going in Brooklyn, man. And Ollie Jackson, J.D. Allen, Daryl Hall, Dwayne Eubanks, Anthony Wan. It was so many cats coming by there because basically here's the thing, as you know, you walk in a joint, you can go get something to eat and you ain't paying. And then the cats are playing and it's cats hitting, you know you want to play.
Sure.
So I used that as my kind of my branding thing. And cats used to say, where you finding all these young guys, man? I said, man, I got my ear to the ground. And basically it was Robert helping me. And he would tell me, yo, man, there's a new cat coming, man. This cat's coming. So I would try him out. All of them didn't necessarily connect with me like that, but most did. And Brooklyn was just more inviting, man. You played for more African-American audiences. I love playing for people. I've been all over from Russia to China to Italy. I'm not making any, but when you play for an African-American audience, you really get tested because they're not going to clap for everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make them feel you. You're going to have to really connect with them. You got to play something with some blues. If you play a ballad, it better be pretty. You don't need technique so much. It's sound. And Brooklyn just embraced you. Manhattan was cool. I made my way to Manhattan. And cats had known me because the mayor was, because I had all the gigs, because I knew where the clubs were, where to go. Most of these cats moved to Brooklyn because of the rent in other parts of the city. But there was nowhere to play. And since they didn't know the communities, I was able to set up a lot of gigs. I'd work from Tuesday to Saturday. And I had enough musicians, and everybody started coming around me because they knew there was some gigs involved. So that's kind of how the mayor thing happened, because every time I call a cat up, where's this place at? Yeah, just take they didn't know Brooklyn. They just moved in the community. So I kind of took advantage of it, but it's nice to have the acknowledgement that, because I figured, man, after learning from Sonny Rollins, man, you got to share that information some kind of way. You're being selfish to know something, hear a cat play, and not tell them. You need to work on your long tones, bro. You need to check out some Charlie Parker, check out some Dexter, because you can hear they right there. They just don't know. That was the beauty of my life. I was always told what to practice. My dad said, start practicing these. Start checking out these whole tone scales. Do this. Play the changes. Don't learn the solo. Play the changes and then figure out your solo within the changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was kind of being like, okay. And I felt good about helping younger people, man,
I think it has made room for you, Eric. And, the bands that I've always, witnessed you with, online, whether it
Mhm.
be Smalls or what have you,
Yeah, yeah,
have
yeah.
always been fiery, feel good affairs first. In addition to their intellectual stimulation, it always feels good first. It's visceral. And I've
It
always
has.
appreciated that about you.
I'm glad you hit on that. If there's as I mentioned, playing for the black community, you got to make them feel you, man. The rap. Can you feel me? Cats always. I used to say, yeah, but what are you saying? Feel me. You know, I kind of was indoctrinated. I played a gig. These are called Chitlin Circuit from
Yeah.
back. But it's ironic you mentioned that. There's a brother on my record, Chris Lowry, the trumpet player, and his brother Wes is not on my record. But there was a club in Brooklyn that was like our village vanguard. It was called the Flamingo Lounge. Harold Vick used to play there. Junior Cook, Cliff Lee, Bill Lee's brother, Spike's uncle, Bill Hardman,
Wow.
Scobie Stroman, Randy Weston used to come through there. This was this was the place, the home of the elders. So if you proved yourself in that place, you kind of knew, because these guys didn't pull no punches. Those old black brothers in the bar, there was a guy named Jack. He sat by the door. If you didn't play the changes on some, these cats, they wasn't players. They could hear it. So I remember I hired Chris's brother Wes, and Wes now they they're doing great things. But his brother Chris is on my album. Man, I remember when they used to come by there, and it was like because they're from Philly, they connected to that. It was like an old Philly club. I'm sure where you from, they got these places, where your daddy used to go hang out. And once you earned your bones in a joint like that, you kind of knew
It's your
that there was
reward.
something.
Yeah.
Well, you knew something different, and it wasn't. You didn't always play to people. Sometimes it was just the barmaid and the owner, but they wanted you to play. I always approached those gigs like I'm at the Vanguard, I'm at Carnegie Hall. I never shorted those people, and I think that's one of the benefits of my ability to play. When we did the pandemic, I think I did a gig at Smalls, and we started out with nobody. I said, "Well, this ain't nothing new, Tyler." you know, Playing the empty chairs. We always we've had that experience. It's not the norm, but people were panicking. Brother, that's how it starts out. You got to tell me you've been there.
Yes.
You got this big night and everybody, yeah, we're gonna be there. What time is the gig? Yeah, I'm coming by there. You get there and you're looking at chairs. So I never approached that like, oh my God, we're pandemic. I said, I'm gonna just keep practicing because I know it's gonna have to come back. But
Mhm.
it's just stuff like that, man. Brooklyn just was the guy never canceled the gig. Everybody knows this. You can ask any playing in Pumpkins. We played there he had 6 nights a week, and practically every night there was nobody there. But the
Wow.
Brooklyn cat, the owner, he loved the music. He didn't cancel. He wasn't in it for the money. And that's not to say you should be losing your money. But this brother had jazz, Derek Gardner, Sean Jones, all of them have come through there. Winton, I think, is coming in.
Hmm.
What's the cat? I forget his name. The older, he's died, but they had a picture of him in there. Randy Weston used to come in there.
Hmm.
Kiani Zawadi, was it Freddie Hubbard, Rashid Ali? I
Hmm.
could go on and on, but Brooklyn was just inviting, man. And Manhattan was business
Sure.
sometimes, a little bit too much. Like the music didn't matter to them, the business did. And
Hmm.
in Brooklyn, the music mattered, business mattered. But if you was an up and coming cat or a young guy, or if I said, "Hey man, let this cat in the play," they gave me a thumbs up. So that's what
Hmm.
I'll say about Brooklyn, man.
That's great. No, that's very
Mm.
helpful and very insightful. Um, and again, you led me kind of to my next point. You've welded together um, the music and the business very well, I feel. And your
Mm-hmm.
new record, of course, recorded during this pandemic, "A Song of Hope," as
Yeah,
we tape this interview, is top 10 at jazz
yeah.
radio around the country. First of all, congratulations. And then
Thank you,
second
brother.
of all, yeah, I want to know about this project? How do you stay prolific during a pandemic, and how do you rally your friends
Yeah,
and
yeah,
associates, to
yeah.
make a project, like this? Tell me about it.
Well, when you're dubbed the mayor, you make calls. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm gonna try to sequence this, man. I've been recording with Whalen City for Whalen City Sound. Big shout out to Neil Weiss, who is more of a visionary label owner.
Hmm.
Some labels just want some one thing, and you give them, if it ain't 444, everything standard American songbook. Neil's not that kind of label president. First of all, we talk, and he's very I ain't gonna say hands on, but when he puts his hands on, he's making the right. You don't really fight it. It's like it makes sense.
Hmm.
When you deal with some people saying, "I want you to do this," I've had label. They did it the way they want it. They don't care about the artists. I think he has a more interest in trying to make sure the artists. I'll try to start it from the project was something. I didn't know it was going to happen, but I will say this: January 2020, I got to go sit in with my man, Mr. Jeff Watts, who I've been
Hmm.
knowing since I met Jeff. I met Jeff. You know how you meet certain people, you never forget where you met them. I met Jeff on Myrtle Avenue with Branford Marsalis and his son Reese, and they were going to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
All right.
I think that's the first time I met him personally, because I knew who these cats were. See,
Sure.
I was a different kind of cat back then. Now, see, my thing was because I knew how great this music was and how high the level. Understand, I'm seeing Sonny Rollins and Miles Davis as a 12-year-old.
Hmm.
So even not knowing what they're playing, I knew this was some real serious business that my dad is into. Now, not being like told how hard it will become to learn to play jazz on that level, and not even thinking, are you ever going to could you even possibly get to something like that? I couldn't go around Branford and those cats with my horn because, first of all, I knew the musician vibe and lingo. There's probably a chance somebody's going to say, "You want to play? Can you want to play a tune with me?" Because my dad told me something, and I never forget, man. It's still, he told me, once you get out here, don't you ever go to a club to hear somebody and not have your horn.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because that's going to be the night they're going to ask you can you want to play a tune if they know you play. And I benefited from that because I got to sit in with Branford Marsalis, with Roy Hargrove, both in Yoshi's. Willie Jones had a group out there, Sean Jones. I've always taken my horn. So in the process of that, it's like, let me see here. I'm sorry, man. I got sidetracked from your question.
No, it's cool. It's cool. You met Tane, you said, on Myrtle
Right, I met
with
Jane. Right,
Branford.
I met Jane. Right,
Hmm.
I met Jane, and so I always knew not to go around these cats because they were so embracing. And Branford was really generous when I got to sit in. I mean, I literally went by the gig to say hi to Jeff and Revis.
Uh-huh.
And I knew Branford, but we weren't like
Super
socially,
tight. Hmm.
and. So he says to me, "Hey man, you got your horn with you, huh?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why didn't you come up on stage and play with me?" And I'm like, "What did you? What? Why would I walk into Yoshi's, pull my horn out, and just?" He says, "No, man. I said, "Well, I would love to play with you, but that would be something you'd have to invite me to do." He says, "Well, come by tomorrow night and play with me."
Wow.
And I did.
Wow.
And he was very gracious,
Hmm.
extremely gracious. We talked about Sonny for a brief moment. So when I met Jeff, as I said, we played at Made in New York in
Hmm.
January 2019. So we talked about, "Hey man, I want to do something with you on my next record." He said, "Okay, let's make it happen." He's kind of light, Jeff. Yeah, he don't get too heavy. I said, "Well, I need to know what the particulars." So we ran down the particulars. He said, "Yeah, and just reach out to Laura and blah 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 blah." So basically, when the president of the label reached out to me, I didn't know he wanted to record. It was pandemic. Now it's like no gigs, no nothing. So I said, "Well, I had an idea, but I need to use Jeff Watts." because see, I had the idea of what you're hearing on the record, but I knew I needed to just get one drummer to do it all.
Right. Right.
Because my last record, I had 3 drummers.
Mm-hmm.
And Willie Jones, Charles Gould, and Chris Beck. Not that they couldn't all do it, but there was some specific Sonny Rollins material that I did, and I needed certain things on certain tunes, and it just kind of came together, and that worked out. But this record, I said, I just need one drummer, and I wound up actually using Makai Boone and Mike Boone.
Sure.
But that wasn't particular. That was like last minute. That was like the week before I made the record that I added them. So my thing was, once I got Jeff and I told him, okay, Jeff was agreeing. I reached out to him, Donald Vega. The thing about the record, cats that I had been talking to with Donald Vega, he was calling me. How you doing, man? What's going on? Theo Croker, how you doing, man? What's going on? Because everybody wasn't calling me.
Sure.
Everybody was home,
sure.
But these gentlemen were actually calling me.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Lowry, I'd already talked to about, because he had a tune, the track number 4, Fur Live. That track just blew me away, man, in the summer. He let me hear this tune. And I said, he sent me this tune. I said, man, when did you do this? He told me, man, I did that when I met you back at Port Knockers when you was the mayor. And Kwame wrote this with me and my brother. I said, wow, man, I think I want to reboot this.
Mm-hmm.
So he was down and who else? Eric Wheeler, rock steady, Eric, E-Dub, and then I realized I wanted percussion, so I got Khalil Bell. So we organized it, and the president was already dealing with Van Gelder Studios, which out of all the recording places, I think it was a very limited that would even get, we had to wear masks. It still
Sure.
was, but we locked it in, and out of hiring Mike and his son, little did I know that Samara Joy is related to Mike through marriage.
Okay.
So when I did the tune Fragile, I did it as an instrumental, but then we talked about, I thought about it, so maybe I should get her to do the vocals on this instead of me playing it as a sax. And as you know, me and Jeff were singing a little background on it, which was our little moment of just trying to lighten up the studio, because I remember I said, I need to sing these background parts. Jeff, man, what you think? He said, yeah, man, he's real nonchalant. And so the guys are laughing at us. Y'all gonna sing? And then the Maureen, I don't know if you ever met Maureen Sickler. My
Not
goodness.
yet. I know who she is.
Man, she was like, why are you guys gonna sing? You're a drummer. You play saxophone. You're not singers. So could you just put 2 mics in the room? And
yeah.
Long story short, she loves it now. We laugh. It's a big laugh now, see. But I knew what I was doing as conceptually. So
sure. Absolutely.
Definitely
man.
Proud of the record though, man.
It sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we can get enough of folks encouraging each other, artists specifically making material, whether they be original tunes or cover songs, in the spirit of rejuvenation, because we've been through a lot.
Sure.
And
man.
I just want to ask you, how has this pandemic caused you maybe to move or think or create differently? How have you evolved because of it?
Well, as you're speaking, you hear the record. It's not like any of my other records, first of all. When I had all the time off, instead I practiced, but I did more listening to what was out here, to what was stuff that you didn't do. I'm sure you pulled out some old tapes or, I just started hearing. We had nothing to do every day. We didn't know if we were going, it was so, we know what the scenario was. I just started listening to stuff, man. And through that process, I pulled out some of my old tracks. I'd always loved that Sunset Park, Bonita. I wrote that for there's a part in Brooklyn called Sunset Park. Well, that's where most of the Latin women live. That's beautiful. I used to have a girlfriend that lived in that community. So it was like, I said, I want to record this, man, because we don't know what's going to happen. This may be my last recording. Who knows what this pandemic is doing? With people are dying every day. They got tractor trailers. That was near my house, man.
Yeah.
A tractor trailer with bodies.
Yeah.
I saw that truck. I was like, oh my goodness. That's near where I would go see the doctor. So Breonna Taylor, man, that was a tough one. Watching television and seeing what happened to this sister, man. I don't have a daughter. I'm not married. But that touched me to the point that I was writing some music, but then I turned it into something for her. And because I just couldn't take looking at this every day, man. George Floyd, what was happening to the people, man? And they were innocent of any real crime. These people are getting murdered, So I decided I'm going to put that on the record. I always, like I said, back to Mr. Watts, the way he plays drums, since I grew up I grew up in a neighborhood with Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe,
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Gregory, Mustafa Muhammad, World Be Free, Vinnie Johnson with the Pistons, Sidney Green. I could go on and on. Athletes. I always envisioned like playing drums, Jeff playing drums and me playing sax as a battle, like a boxer, like two guys in the ring, pugging it out to see. So, when I did the duet things with him because I wanted to play with just him to see could I make some music, as he's a premium drummer,
Mm-hmm.
one of the top. There's other great drummers, but when I would hear him playing, I would always feel like, man, I want to do some duets with this cat and see what I could, how, he gets me for a few rounds. I get him for a few rounds. So he said, oh, that's what you got? Okay, well, I got this. So that's how I interpreted that, because it was fun, because he's just a cool guy. But I just want to make a record that every song, and I can't take credit, I will not take credit for what I did not do. Theo Croker is the one who programmed the sequence of my record. I had let him hear. He says, E, you need to put this song. These are the songs. This is an order. You could do what you want, but I've been listening to this album. It's a little different, man. You need to put the songs in this order. So for those of you that are hearing it, he gets a pat on the back. And that's why I deal with younger people, because they tell you stuff you may not even think about. But as I listen to it now, I don't know what else I can say. But yeah, the pandemic helped me because it made me think more. It made me pay attention to who really got my back, kind of. You probably lost a few friends, but you gained some energy from the positive people. And it was really, as we're sitting back now on the other side of it, to me, it's like my man J.D. Allen is another cat that we stayed in touch and had some heavy conversations. And I put him on my previous album,
Mm-hmm.
and on the bridge, which is a tune for Sonny wrote, because my dad used to practice with Sonny on the Williamsburg Bridge. And he's told me this. My mother told me this. It blew me away when she told me about it. But me and JD have a connection from when he first showed up in Just Like Glasper. I met all of these cats. So, this record, I just wanted to make a statement, a different kind of statement. And I think I did.
Right on, man. Again, it's a beautiful project. Folks all around the country are getting a chance to hear it. And I'm happy for you, man, that you continue the legacy of putting cats on, but also making a way for yourself as you give. It's giving back to you. The one final question I do want to ask you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up, but and I know it's going to be another hard one to synthesize, but man, you've been able to gain knowledge from one of the greatest musicians in the world. And we're speaking about Sonny Rollins right now. Sure. If you had to say one or two lessons, musical or otherwise, that Sonny Rollins has directly given to you, what would they be?
My health. Your health, what you put in your body, what you put in your mind. We've talked about karma. Karma is very important. We all deal with it, whether we want to embrace it or not. I'll tell you a quick story about karma. I don't want to try to stress this out. When I took Robert Glasper, Don Vontae McCoy, Quentin Franklin, and me and Rob to Greece, my first time, We talk about this story. It was his first time going to Europe. It was my first time taking my own band out of the United States to perform, because I had been to Paris twice under my own name, but playing with cats here. So we go over there. As the video I talked about, the guy asked us to do a rap song. You have to hear it. It's hilarious, but it's a really good song. So we got to go back to Greece. And that was part of why I told the story, because the club owner saw them fooling around and said, man, can they do the rap stuff at the jazz club? I said, no, man. This is a jazz. This week I came over here to do my Sonny Rollins, my Train, my Wayne Shorter, and I got some stuff I got to let you hear. Phenomenal stuff. But then when he said that to me, I remembered, when you come to Europe, they bring you every other year. They don't bring you every year, because I went to Paris in 1996. The guy brought me back in 98. We might start touching base in 97. So I knew that if this guy is serious, we aren't going to come back here till 2 years, because that was what happened in Paris, at least. So when he said, we'll bring you back next year, I talked to Rob, man, we're going to have to try some of this stuff, So basically, we come back to New York, and the word on the street is, how'd y'all do? The word on the street is, we're going back next year. So here comes the next generation of new school students. I had been hearing it. Man, wait till you hear Keon Howe. Wait till you hear blah, blah, blah. Emmanuel Howe was already here playing with. So Don Vante, who I love to death and is a brilliant cat, you don't really know him, but you might want to check him. Don Vante McCoy is in D.C. He's really talented brother, trumpet player. He taught at the Peabody Institute for many years. So Don Vante, and I'll try to impersonate him, because he said, yeah, man, I know Keon is here now, so you probably ain't going to take me back to Greece, right? I'm sure, bro, And I said, now, why would I do that? Well, Rob and all them talking about him, man, I know how you do eat. And, that touched me, because this is a brother that on the last night, Greg, we were eating lunch, because we had been in Greece 10 days. The last day he's sitting there and we talk and we eat lunch, and I look over and he's crying. He's crying. I said, what's wrong, man? I said, man, I just can't thank you enough for bringing me here. My family at home didn't believe I was going to ever do nothing. And here I am in Greece with you. I just really appreciate it, brother. I really appreciate what you did, E. I said, man. And there's another thing about him. When I first went, we first got there, we checked into the hotel. I made sure I put my room next door to him. I wanted to work on the melody. We didn't really work out a lot of the music yet. We never, this group hadn't really played as a group. Man, before I could even practically open my suitcase, this guy had his trumpet in his mouth and was playing warm-ups. I know he didn't unpack, because we walked in at the same time. So these are little things that stayed in my mind. So basically my point is, I did not fire him. I did not take Keon. I brought him back. And I explained to him, man, you came over here and played 10 nights with me. The club owners loved you. You rapped, which is what they really wanted to see on the last night. Why would I fire you just because this cat got some hype going? Yeah, he's a great trumpet player. But I told Sonny Rollins that story, and he said, man, that's beautiful karma. It's karma. You don't do stuff on impulse, and I think a lot of the stuff that happens today, I don't know why these guys get gigs in and out, transitioning players, but your karma is very important. And then as far as the music, man, be true to the music. Don't fake it, man. A lot of guys transcribe a lot of stuff. I am not knocking that. But my dad would not let me read those solos out of the Omni book. And I was 14, I remember. He said, look at that chord change. Can you make up Eric Wyatt language from that? So that's what you're supposed to do. To me, if you do a standard, reimagine it. Don't do it like, you're never going to play Body and Soul better than. Right. You can transcribe all the Coltrane you want, man. People going to know that's not really your music. It's like learning somebody's speech and then getting on a podium and repeating what you already heard somebody else say. Try to make up your own language. If you don't focus on that, you're gonna hit a brick wall, because it's gonna be like, you done studied all this other guy's stuff. What do you got to say? So I try to pride myself on that because Sonny does not want you copying him. He don't care how great he thought you think he. This is a man to me, and I'll just say this, and I want to. He was the top dude. He took himself off of the scene to practice. People think I don't think they understand. That would be like Branford or somebody today. Just stop. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
What's he doing? He's on a bridge. James Carter. He's on a bridge. J.D. Allen. Where's he at? I don't know. He was at the top when he did that. So I don't think these cats really, if you're going to delve into trying to impersonate or reenact one of these type of guys like Freddie Hubbard, man, I heard Ralph Moore talking about him. Cats did not see him. I saw him. I knew him a little, and I played with James Spalding. That level, and I know you from tennis, you met some great people that, you know what I'm saying? The level of this stuff, these men are very unique, and they're not coming back. We are not them. My generation is not them. So the ones after us, you didn't even know them. I at least played with Rashid Ali, Lester Bowie, Junior Cook, Jimmy Vass, Clarence C. Sharp. I played with some guys that would frighten you. They were frightening, man. So, I hear good players, young cats, their futures are bright, but you got to do some serious work and understand and respect the music. And that's all I can say on that. That's two things that I learned from him. You're not going to see me out there embarrassed because I first of all, I can never allow myself to be seen and have the word get back to him. Man, Sonny, Eric, man, that cat, something. I've always heard, I pride myself on at least a few people that know him because I use his sound man on my records. I played with Al Foster. I played with different guys, Bob Crenshaw. And, we did a tribute for Sonny.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to stress this out, but we did a tribute. Bob Crenshaw played his last gig with me at the Ninth Note, his last public gig. We did a tribute for Sonny we had a band called Pont and Jolly. And I was the one picked to play saxophone, which I thought was, of all the saxophone players, but there was a word that I'm kind of in the style. I'm almost a little more believable. So when I got the call to do it and I talked to Bob, I said, Bob, how should I approach this, man? I'm not Sonny Rollins, man.
Mm-hmm.
How do I, he says, and the words that he gave me were just so profound. And every time I took a solo, there's a footage of it. I don't know if we'll ever get to see it. I always would turn and look at Bob and he would just, I was like, can't be Sonny Rollins. I don't even want to, I took the gig because it was prestigious. And there's a video on YouTube where we did a tribute for Sonny. These are the two times in my life that I kind of know that Sonny knows what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. John Faddis had it at SUNY Purchase. And I didn't get the call to be part of this tribute. Yet Sonny, I heard through the grapevine, told them they were supposed to call me.
Wow.
And I didn't get the call. So when I did, I asked Clifton about this thing. And he said, man, Sonny wants me to call John Faddis and tell him to put you on the concert, which was Jimmy Heath, Robbie Coltrane, Joe Lovano, James Brandon Lewis, and James Carter. So I was sitting back shocked that they're not going to call me. Well, John Faddis did call me. I did get to play. And me and Jimmy Heath, there's a video. What a beautiful cat, man.
He was.
He was joking. I'll have to tell you off camera what he said. He was joking. Cool. He was joking about somebody on stage, man. It had me cracking up. And you see me kind of talking to him because I was like, but he told Sonny, I heard, and I can say he told Sonny, yeah, that cat played good, man.
That's beautiful, man.
So that's my thing, because I know he's going to hear about it, even if I think I'm doing something slick and I can take a night off today. I can kind of bullshit. No, so you got to be serious, man. And that's what you hear in my bands at Smalls. And I'm going to make you feel me before I make you look at me technically like, wow, he's playing real fast. I don't know how that translates because I wasn't taught the music that way,
Absolutely. Well, Eric, I'm going to get you to hang on with me just for a few more seconds, but man, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, man. Thanks for making time for me, brother.
Oh, please. And I'll say one thing, man. Cats need to pay attention to Isaiah Collier. I don't know if you're hip to him.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, he's great. He's
Cats
great.
need to pay attention to that young man. And I'm going to say that to him because he's got a little something coming. He's not from he's from Chicago, but he's got some very similar traits from Brooklyn mindset. I don't know how that translates, but he's somebody to pay attention to. You might not want to right this second, but if you don't, you will soon. I'll just say that. Shout out to the next young brother. As you know, I always, Jonathan Blake told me one time, he says, man, you always get these baddest. I don't know, man. I guess it's a Brooklyn thing, man. I don't know. I mean, cats there's brilliant cats all over. But when you live in Brooklyn, it's just weird. It's just, maybe, I don't know.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.